Have you ever woken up feeling weaker than the day before? Maybe your legs shake a little more when you stand, or you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why restful sleep seems to slip further away. It's easy to blame these changes on simply getting old, but what if that's not the whole story? What if the real reason behind these silent struggles is something no one talks about? Many of us dismiss these little signs as just part of aging, but the truth is, they can quietly affect our independence and joy more than we realize. It's like a whisper that grows louder over time, but too often, it's overlooked, treated as something normal when it's a call for attention. In this video, I'll walk alongside you to uncover the hidden truths about growing older, the things that don't make the headlines but shape our daily lives. Stay with me, because by the end, I'll share one simple but powerful habit that can help you embrace aging with strength and grace. This isn't about fighting time. It's about living fully in every moment we have. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. The untold truths about aging. There are some mornings, as the sun peeks through the blinds and casts that golden glow on the kitchen table, when you just sit with your coffee and wonder when, exactly, things began to change. Maybe it's the stiffness in your knees as you get up, or how the familiar ache in your back lingers a little longer than it used to. Sometimes, it's the simple act of reaching for a jar on the top shelf and pausing, realizing it isn't as easy as before. These are the small, silent moments that stack up, quietly reminding you that you're not 25 anymore. It's easy to brush these things off as just age, a phrase repeated so often it's become almost a reflex, like saying, "I'm fine," when you're anything but. Family members will nod with sympathetic smiles, and friends will share their own stories, aches and pains, forgotten birthdays, trouble sleeping. You laugh about it together, because what else can you do? Yet somewhere deep down, there's a twinge of worry that maybe these little changes are just the beginning of something bigger, something no one wants to talk about out loud. But what if everything you've come to accept as normal isn't set in stone? What if these aches, these slips of memory, these moments of fatigue, what if they aren't just a price you pay for having lived more years? That's a question worth pausing for. For generations, we've been taught that growing older is a downward slope, a slow unraveling of strength and memory, a steady shrinking of what's possible. The unspoken rule is to accept, endure, and quietly fade into the background. But science, and the stories of many who have gone before us, suggests a very different picture, one that is rarely talked about in everyday conversations. Let's start with the aches and stiffness. The body indeed changes as we age. Our muscles naturally lose some of their strength, our joints may stiffen, and healing takes longer. But here's the part most people never hear. Much of what we blame on aging isn't inevitable. Medical researchers call it disuse syndrome, meaning the less we use our muscles, the more they weaken, and the cycle continues. The culprit is often not just years, but years of habits. Long periods of sitting, less movement, less challenge. The brain is no different. Those little memory lapses, the word on the tip of your tongue, the forgotten appointment, are usually harmless. Yet, the latest research in neurology shows that our brains, like our muscles, thrive on challenge and novelty. When we stop learning, reading, or engaging with new people and ideas, the mind grows quieter, not because it must, but because it is not being stretched. Even those nights spent tossing and turning aren't a permanent sentence. Many older adults believe that poor sleep is part and parcel of aging. But studies show that our circadian rhythm, the natural clock in our brain, can be gently recalibrated. Sometimes it's as simple as getting more morning sunlight, reducing caffeine in the afternoon, or keeping a regular bedtime. Here's a truth that rarely gets discussed. So many changes we feel are not the unstoppable march of time, but rather the accumulation of small daily choices. That means you have far more control than you might think. But how do you begin to reclaim that sense of control, especially when the world seems so set on reminding you of your age? The answer doesn't lie in miracle cures or drastic transformations. It lives in the gentle, consistent steps you can take, starting right now. Let's talk about movement, for example. You don't have to become a marathon runner or join a gym packed with 20-year-olds. Instead, find something that brings you a spark of joy, a walk around the block with a neighbor, gentle stretching while you listen to your favorite music, gardening in the yard, or dancing in the kitchen. The goal is not to chase youth, but to honor the body you have and keep it moving in ways that feel good. Even 10 minutes of movement, done daily, can work wonders for strength, mood, and sleep. For the mind, try a new hobby, pick up a crossword puzzle, or join a book club. Learn something new, not for grades or glory, but for the sheer delight of discovery. Studies have shown that the brains of older adults can grow new connections when challenged. There is no deadline for curiosity. When it comes to sleep, develop a gentle nighttime ritual. Dim the lights an hour before bed, trade your phone screen for a paperback, or listen to calming music. A cup of herbal tea, a warm bath, a few slow breaths. These simple acts signal your brain that it's time to rest. It's easy to hear these suggestions and think, what's the point? I'm too old to start now. But that, too, is just another myth. Let me tell you a short story about Henry, a neighbor of mine who used to spend most of his days in his recliner, television playing quietly in the background. For years, Henry believed his aches and foggy mind were just what life had in store for him. But after a health scare, he made a promise to himself. Every morning, he would walk to the end of his driveway and back. At first, it was slow going. He'd pause to catch his breath, chat with a mail carrier, and sometimes stop early if his knees protested. But Henry kept at it, day after day, adding a few more steps each week. 6 months later, his walks had stretched down the block, then to the park. He felt steadier on his feet, his sleep improved, and he started joining the weekly coffee group at the library. One small step became a string of gentle victories. It wasn't magic. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. And the change in Henry was as much in his spirit as in his body. He began to greet each day not with resignation, but with a quiet sense of pride. So if you find yourself looking in the mirror, noticing the lines and changes, feeling the ache of old injuries or the weight of memories, I invite you to pause. Remember that what you feel is real, but it is not all that you are. Your story is still being written. Growing older is not a disappearance, but an arrival, a time when you can embrace the wisdom, resilience, and perspective that only comes with experience. The untold truth about aging is that it is as much about possibility as it is about loss. With small steps, gentle kindness toward yourself, and the willingness to keep moving, mind, body, and spirit, you can find meaning and joy, even in unexpected places. And if you're still wondering where to begin, start simple. Today, choose one thing that makes you feel alive, even if it's just standing at the window and watching the birds, calling an old friend, or writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Let this be the first page of a new chapter. Aging isn't a verdict, it's a journey. And you, my friend, have more power than you think. So let's move forward, one gentle step at a time, together. 2. Why these things are rarely discussed. Certain topics always seem to hang in the air, heavy and unsaid, especially as we grow older. Maybe you've noticed it at family gatherings, or when you visit your doctor for a checkup. People ask about your blood pressure, your cholesterol, whether you're taking your medications, but no one leans in and asks, how are you coping with the little changes, the ones that make you feel different from who you used to be? We talk about retirement plans and grandkids, but rarely about the private aches of aging, or those lonely afternoons when it feels like the world has moved on without us. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. It's as if, once we reach a certain age, society gently nudges us into the background. People assume we're content with how things are, or maybe they think we'd rather not discuss the tough parts. But here's a question worth considering. Why do so many of the most real, most tender experiences of aging go unspoken? Is it that people are uncomfortable? Or is there something deeper going on? A belief that talking about the difficult parts of growing older is a kind of weakness, or worse, an admission of defeat. Let's challenge that idea together. Is silence a shield? Or does it just make the burden feel heavier? What if, instead of brushing these truths aside, we brought them into the light? Could that help us, and the generations that follow, live more fully? The reality is that many of us were raised in a culture that prized stoicism. We learned early not to complain, not to make a fuss, and to put on a brave face no matter what. The greatest generation weathered wars and depression. Baby boomers grew up believing in self-reliance and pushing through pain. So when the small humiliations of aging arrive, a slower step, a memory that won't come, the loss of a friend, we're tempted to keep them private, thinking, everyone else must be handling this better than I am. But science has a different story to tell. Researchers have found that loneliness and isolation in older adults are public health risks, increasing the risk of illness and even early death as much as smoking or obesity. Yet talking about loneliness can feel almost taboo, as if admitting it means you haven't lived your life right. Similarly, fears about memory loss or declining mobility are deeply personal. To confess them out loud can feel like giving up control or exposing yourself to pity. Sometimes, the silence comes from the people around us. Our families want to protect us, or perhaps they're afraid of their future. They change the subject, offer quick reassurances, "You're still sharp as ever, Dad," or distract us with lighter conversation. Our doctors, pressed for time, focus on test results instead of the quiet questions that keep us up at night. There's a discomfort, even among professionals, in talking about aging as anything but a series of checklists and lab numbers. Social expectations play a role, too. American culture celebrates youth and independence, qualities we're told we should fight to keep, at any cost. No one wants to admit when they're struggling, especially when society seems to reward those who age gracefully, as if wrinkles, aches, and losses are simply a failure of willpower. It's easier to compare ourselves to the fit, smiling seniors on TV commercials than to talk honestly about our private fears and frustrations. And so, we end up talking around the truth, joking about senior moments, or sharing only the cheerful updates. The real story of vulnerability, courage, and the daily work of adjusting to a changing life gets lost in the shuffle. But what if we tried a different approach? What if, instead of shying away from these conversations, we made room for them? What if you could gently open up about what you're going through, not just with your doctor or counselor, but with friends, family, and even strangers walking a similar path? The first step is to recognize that there is no shame in honesty. Opening up about the real challenges of aging is an act of strength and generosity. When we speak our truths, we permit others to do the same. That simple act can create a ripple effect, making it safer for everyone to talk about what's going on, and to find comfort and advice that's useful. One gentle way to start is to seek out spaces where honesty is welcomed. Maybe a support group at your community center, a faith gathering, or even an online forum for older adults. Try starting small. Share one worry or frustration with a trusted friend, or write about it in a journal. Notice how much lighter you feel, simply by speaking the words. Let me tell you about Ruth, a woman I met at the local library's Tea and Talk group. Ruth had always been the strong one in her family, the organizer of reunions, the planner of holidays, the shoulder to cry on. When her husband passed away and her health started to falter, Ruth withdrew into herself, afraid that speaking about her pain would only burden her children. Months went by before she found herself sitting quietly at the back of a weekly discussion group, listening as others spoke, sometimes tearfully, sometimes with laughter, about the real challenges they faced. At first, Ruth didn't say much. But one afternoon, as the group talked about loneliness, she shared, "Some days, I miss being needed. I miss feeling useful. Heads nodded around the table. Someone squeezed her hand. For the first time in years, Ruth felt the tightness in her chest ease. She wasn't alone. The simple act of speaking, of breaking the silence, helped her connect again, not only with others but with herself. Ruth's experience isn't unique. Study after study shows that when older adults are given a safe space to talk about their fears, losses, and hopes, their mental and even physical health improves. They sleep better, feel less anxious, and are more likely to reach out for help when they need it. Sometimes, just hearing, "me too," can be a lifeline. If you're watching this and thinking, "It's too late for me," please know that it never is. No matter your age or stage, it's always possible to open the door to honest conversation. Maybe you'll be the one to ask a friend, "How are you doing?" Maybe you'll be the voice in your own family who starts talking openly about aging, letting the younger ones see that there is courage in vulnerability. You have lived through so much, times of struggle and triumph, heartbreak and healing. You have the wisdom to share, not just about the good times, but about how you face the hard ones. When you speak, you help others feel less alone. That's a gift only you can give. So today, I encourage you to be brave. Say the thing that feels hard to say. Ask the question you've been carrying in your heart. Listen to the stories of others, and share your own. The truths of aging are too precious to keep hidden. They are the keys to connection, meaning, and real hope. Growing older isn't just about accumulating years. It's about learning over and over how to love, adapt, and reach out to one another. Silence may seem safe, but sharing is how we find our way, together. 3. How to embrace and love growing older. There's a moment that comes to most of us, usually when the house has grown a little too quiet or the calendar has more white space than scribbled appointments. Maybe you're pouring your morning coffee and you notice the lines on your hands, or you catch your reflection in the hallway mirror. Your posture a little more stooped, your hair a little thinner. There's an ache, physical or otherwise, that reminds you of all the years you've carried. For many, these moments bring a sigh, a quiet wish for days gone by, a twinge of longing for the energy, purpose, and possibilities that seemed endless in youth. It's so easy to see aging as a slow retreat, a series of losses, less strength, fewer loved ones, smaller circles, quieter days. But what if that's only half the story? What if this season of life, instead of being a time to shrink back, could be a time to grow inward, to deepen, and to discover joy in unexpected places? What if growing older is not a fading away, but a blossoming, one that looks different from youth, but is no less real or beautiful? For years, the messages we hear about aging are negative, warnings about what not to eat, what to watch out for, what to fear. Aging is often described in terms of decline, limitation, and even invisibility. Yet scientists, psychologists, and, most importantly, those who have lived well into their older years tell us something profoundly different. The later chapters of life can be among the richest if we choose to embrace them. Let's look at why, and more importantly, how. First, embracing aging means letting go of the myth that youth is the only time worth celebrating. This isn't just about accepting wrinkles or graying hair. It's about changing the story you tell yourself. Our culture worships youth, energy, appearance, newness, while quietly sidelining the incredible gifts that come only with time. Wisdom, patience, resilience, and perspective. Scientific studies now show that older adults, on average, report higher levels of emotional well-being than people in their 20s and 30s. Many say they feel less stress, more gratitude, and a greater appreciation for the simple moments. This doesn't erase the real challenges, but it does remind us that aging brings its unique joys. Second, embracing and loving the stage means tuning into your body with kindness rather than criticism. Yes, things change, sometimes unpredictably. Instead of measuring yourself against who you were decades ago, start honoring what your body still allows you to do. Celebrate every walk, every stretch, every small movement. Research shows that gentle, regular activity, even just walking around the block, gardening, or stretching in your living room, can dramatically improve strength, balance, mood, and even brain health in seniors. Small acts, done with consistency and care, add up over time. Third, don't underestimate the power of connection. One of the most beautiful gifts of later life is the ability to form deeper, more intentional relationships. You've learned what matters and what doesn't. Make time to call an old friend, volunteer in your community, or join a group, even online if you prefer. Psychologists tell us that meaningful relationships, not material possessions or status, are what bring real satisfaction in life, especially as we grow older. Social connections keep the heart and mind alive. Fourth, try something new, no matter your age. Many people believe new beginnings are for the young, but the science of neuroplasticity shows our brains are capable of learning and growing at any age. Always wanted to paint, write your story, play the piano, or master a new recipe? Permit yourself to be a beginner again. The process of learning keeps your mind agile and brings joy, purpose, and even new friendships into your life. Fifth, cultivate gratitude. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful habits you can practice. Each day, write down, or say out loud, 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be big: a sunny morning, a favorite song, a grandchild's laugh, a good meal. Studies show that gratitude can improve mood, sleep, and even physical health. When we notice what's good, even amidst difficulty, we remind ourselves that life is still full of gifts. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Let me tell you a story about Helen, a retired schoolteacher I met at the local community center. For a while after retiring, Helen struggled with a sense of emptiness. Her days, once filled with the energy of a bustling classroom, now felt quiet and, in her words, a little pointless. At first, Helen coped by filling her hours with TV and crossword puzzles, but the ache lingered. One afternoon, she saw a flyer for a volunteer reading program at the public library. On a whim, she signed up. That first day, Helen read picture books to a handful of children, their eyes wide with curiosity and excitement. The kids asked questions, giggled at silly voices, and ran up to hug her at the end. Helen's heart filled in a way she hadn't felt in years. Each week, she returned, and soon, she was mentoring other volunteers, organizing library events, and forming deep friendships with both young and old. What changed Helen's life wasn't turning back the clock, but stepping into a new role, one that honored her experience, wisdom, and compassion. You don't have to be Helen, or even leave your home, to find a new sense of purpose. The heart of embracing aging is saying yes to the life that is here now. Yes to trying, yes to connecting, yes to small joys and big feelings, yes to rest when you need it, and activity when you can. You are not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing story still being written. So, if you're wondering how to begin, start by noticing one thing today that brings you a little light. Call a friend. Water a plant. Take a slow, mindful walk. Make a list of things you used to love and pick one to try again. Write a letter to someone you care about. Sign up for something new, or simply sit in a patch of sunshine and breathe deeply, letting yourself feel gratitude for the body and mind that have carried you this far. Remember, embracing aging isn't about pretending that loss and challenges don't exist. It's about holding both, the sorrow and the sweetness, with gentle hands. It's about letting go of what you no longer need, whether it's old regrets, unrealistic standards, or outworn possessions, and making space for what truly nourishes you now. You are more than the sum of your birthdays. Your presence is needed in this world. Your stories, your kindness, your perspective. The world grows richer for having you in it. Aging is not the end of the road, but the opening of a new path. Embrace it with curiosity, with love, and with a quiet certainty that your best days are not behind you, but scattered all around you, waiting to be noticed, savored, and shared. 4. Real-life emotional storytelling. There's a kind of quiet that settles over a house when the children are grown and the rush of daily work has faded into memory. For Martha, that quiet was both a comfort and, at times, a heavy companion. She had lived in her small blue house on the corner of Maple Avenue for more than 40 years. Her late husband, Tom, had built the picket fence with his own hands. The swing in the backyard had once held 3 giggling children, but now it creaked softly in the wind, empty. Martha's days followed a gentle routine. Morning coffee in her favorite mug, the newspaper crossword, and a slow walk to the mailbox. Sometimes she'd see her neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, tending roses or waving at the mailman. But as the years rolled on, Martha found herself moving more slowly. The ache in her knees lingered longer. She sometimes forgot names, or why she'd come into a room. She would catch herself sighing, thinking, well, this is just how it is when you get old. Yet deep down, a restlessness was growing. Martha missed being needed. She missed the sense of purpose that once filled her days. When she looked at her reflection in the window, she saw not just wrinkles and gray hair, but all the things she thought she'd lost. Her energy, her independence, her place in the world. One autumn afternoon, as the leaves turned gold and the air carried the first chill of fall, Martha received a phone call from her daughter, Susan. "Mom, I worry about you rattling around in that big old house. Why don't you come stay with us for a while?" Susan's tone was kind, but Martha felt the sting of her pride. She politely declined, hanging up with a tightness in her chest. That evening, as Martha sat in her armchair, a storm of feelings washed over her. Loneliness, frustration, even a bit of anger. "I'm not ready to give up my life," she thought. "But what am I holding on to?" She realized she'd let her world shrink, not just from aging, but from fear. Fear of change, fear of being a burden, fear of admitting she needed more than she had. The next day, Martha decided to try something different. She opened the community newsletter that had sat, unopened, on her kitchen counter. There it was, a notice for the Maple Avenue Community Garden, volunteers needed. Her heart beat a little faster. Tom had always loved to garden. Martha remembered helping him plant tulips each spring. Maybe, she thought, she could give it a try. The following Saturday, she bundled up and walked the few blocks to the garden. She almost turned back at the gate, worried she'd be out of place, that the younger volunteers would see her as frail or slow. But then she spotted Mrs. Henderson, her neighbor, waving with a smile. "I'm so glad you came, Martha. We could use your green thumb." Martha started with small tasks, pulling weeds, watering, and chatting with the other volunteers. She was surprised at how quickly her muscles warmed up, how the fresh air seemed to clear the cobwebs from her mind. The garden was full of people of all ages, children giggling over worms, young parents planting herbs, and a few retirees sharing stories in the shade. For the first time in a long time, Martha felt herself relaxing, laughing, and even learning. As the weeks passed, Martha found herself growing stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. She learned the names of new flowers, traded recipes for zucchini bread, and discovered a talent for teaching children how to plant seeds. She joined the Saturday coffee hour, where neighbors swapped stories and helped each other with errands. Martha began to feel useful again. She started to look forward to each new day. One afternoon, while planting daffodil bulbs with a young girl named Grace, Martha heard a gentle voice behind her. "You're quite the teacher, you know." It was Mr. Reynolds, one of the older gardeners. He told her, "You remind me of my late wife, always patient, always encouraging. This garden wouldn't be the same without you." The words landed in Martha's heart like sunlight. Still, there were hard days. The aches didn't vanish overnight. There were mornings when Martha didn't want to get out of bed and moments when the weight of memories brought tears to her eyes. But something had shifted inside her. She realized that embracing aging didn't mean ignoring loss or pretending everything was fine. It meant letting herself feel both the sorrow and the sweetness, the grief of what had changed, and the quiet joy of what was still possible. The holidays came, and with them, the annual Maple Avenue harvest potluck. Martha brought her famous apple pie, the same recipe her grandmother had taught her. She was greeted with hugs and laughter, her seat at the table waiting. As she listened to the chorus of voices, old and young, sharing stories, Martha felt a sense of belonging she hadn't known in years. Later that evening, as she walked home beneath the streetlights, Martha thought about all she'd feared: losing independence, being alone, feeling invisible. And she realized that by stepping outside her comfort zone, by reaching out and letting herself be part of something again, she had rediscovered not just her place in the world, but her value. Martha's story is not unique. So many older adults find themselves shrinking their world, believing the myth that aging means fading away. But Martha learned, and showed those around her, that the later chapters can be full of growth, connection, and even adventure. It takes courage to try something new, to ask for help, and to let others in. It takes patience to accept the changes in your body and mind, and compassion to forgive yourself for needing a little more time or a helping hand. But above all, it takes hope, a gentle hope that life, even with its aches and uncertainties, still has surprises in store. The community garden became a place of healing for Martha, a source of new friendship and quiet pride. Her days were no longer defined by what she'd lost, but by what she could give, and by the joys she could still gather, one seed at a time. So if you find yourself staring out the window, wondering what comes next, remember Martha. It's never too late to step outside, to dig your hands in the earth, to share a laugh, to bake a pie, to teach a child, or to offer a kind word. The world needs your presence, your stories, your wisdom, your warmth, now as much as ever. Aging isn't the closing of a book, but the turning of a page. There are new gardens to plant, new friendships to grow, and countless small joys waiting to be claimed. You are still needed. You are still valuable. And this life, at every stage, is still yours to embrace. 5. Practical and easy-to-follow advice. There's a comfort in hearing advice from someone who's walked the same road, someone who understands that aging isn't about grand gestures or drastic overhauls. It's about the small things, the gentle shifts in our routines, and the quiet choices that add up to a life well lived. When we talk about embracing age, it's not just a lofty ideal, but a collection of practical habits, each one a thread in the warm quilt of daily life. Let's begin, as so many days do, in the kitchen. Breakfast for many older adults can become an afterthought. Toast, coffee, maybe a banana if it's on hand. But what if this small ritual could be the first act of self-care every day? Nutritionists remind us that as we age, our bodies need fewer calories but more nutrients. Try starting your morning with a little protein, an egg, a scoop of Greek yogurt, or a handful of nuts alongside your toast. Add a piece of fruit or even some colorful berries. This simple shift can help maintain muscle, steady your blood sugar, and give you more energy for the day ahead. And don't forget hydration. Many older adults find themselves feeling sluggish, achy, or even a little confused and don't realize that mild dehydration is often to blame. Keep a water bottle nearby, and make it a point to sip throughout the day. If plain water feels dull, add a slice of lemon or a splash of juice. Herbal teas count, too. Next, let's talk about movement. Not exercise in the intimidating gym sense, but a joyful, natural movement. The truth is, you don't have to run marathons to reap the benefits. Take a gentle walk around your neighborhood after breakfast, or do a few stretches while watching your favorite show. Even a bit of dancing in the living room counts. If stairs have become daunting, try marching in place or doing a few simple chair exercises. Movement is magic for joints, muscles, digestion, and even memory. There's a secret here. Consistency matters far more than intensity. Aim for a little movement most days, even if it's just 10 minutes. You'll find over time, that you feel steadier, sleep better, and even think more clearly. Science backs this up. Regular movement boosts mood, lowers blood pressure, and keeps bones strong. Now, let's tend to the mind. So often, we fall into the rut of routine and forget to challenge our brains. Lifelong learning isn't just for children or college students. It's for everyone. Each morning, try reading a chapter of a new book, working on a crossword, or learning a fact about a subject you love. Join a local class or a virtual group, whether it's painting, singing, or even learning to use new technology. These small acts keep the mind agile and ward off loneliness. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Speaking of loneliness, don't underestimate the power of connection. Many people find their world shrinking as they age. Children move away, old friends pass on, and suddenly the house feels too big. If this sounds familiar, know that you're not alone. Reach out, even when it feels awkward at first. Call an old friend, invite a neighbor for coffee, or attend a community event at your local senior center or library. If getting out isn't easy, consider pen pals or online discussion groups. Human connection is as vital to our well-being as food and water. One of the most practical tips for fostering connection is to set a small goal. 1 phone call a week, 1 new conversation at the grocery store, 1 shared meal a month. You might be surprised by how quickly these little acts begin to fill the empty spaces in your calendar and your heart. Let's talk about sleep, too, since so many older adults struggle with restless nights. The body's natural rhythms change with age, making it harder to fall or stay asleep. Start by creating a simple bedtime ritual. Turn off screens an hour before bed, dim the lights, listen to soft music, or sip a cup of warm herbal tea. Try to go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, even on weekends. If worries keep you awake, keep a notebook by your bed. Sometimes writing them down can quiet the mind. And if you find yourself waking in the night, don't toss and turn in frustration. Accept these moments as a natural part of this season of life. Get up, stretch gently, read, or listen to calm music until sleep returns. Be gentle with yourself. The goal is rest, not perfection. Another piece of wisdom: create a space that supports your well-being. This could be as simple as placing a comfortable chair near a sunny window or keeping fresh flowers on the table. Declutter little by little, not all at once, but a drawer here, a shelf there. Each small act of care for your space is an act of care for yourself. Of course, there will be days when none of this feels easy. Maybe pain flares up, or energy runs low. On those days, the most practical advice is to be kind to yourself. Rest when you need it. Ask for help if you need it. There's no shame in leaning on others. You've spent a lifetime giving, and now it's your turn to receive. To ground these tips in real life, let's meet Walter, a retired postman who, after his wife passed away, found his world growing smaller. He ate most meals standing at the kitchen counter, spent hours napping in front of the TV, and avoided calls from friends. Walter's daughter noticed and encouraged him to join the local breakfast club, a group that met twice a week at the diner. Reluctantly, he went, at first sitting quietly, simply listening. Gradually, he started participating in conversations, swapping stories about his years on the postal route, and laughing at old jokes. Inspired by the camaraderie, Walter began making small changes at home, preparing real meals, walking around the block, reading the paper out loud. He felt his strength returning, his mind waking up. One change led to another, and slowly, the color returned to his life. "I never knew small things could make such a big difference," he'd say with a smile. Walter's story is a gentle reminder. You don't need to reinvent your life overnight. Instead, choose one small thing and begin. Have a nutritious breakfast. Take a walk. Call someone you miss. Fill your home with music. Try a new hobby. Celebrate every tiny victory. Each one is a step toward a richer, fuller life. Remember, the most practical advice is the advice that fits your life and makes you feel good. Ignore anyone who says you should do it all or do it perfectly. This chapter is yours, and you get to set the pace. So, as you move forward, know that the path is made of little choices: a glass of water, a shared smile, a new step, a quiet moment of gratitude. These are the tools of joyful aging. Gather them, use them, and let them build a life that's every bit as meaningful and beautiful as those that came before. You have earned the right to live with ease, dignity, and delight. And you are never alone on this journey. We're all walking this path together, one gentle, practical, loving step at a time. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to remind you that growing older is not something to fear or resist. It's a journey filled with moments, some challenging, some joyful, that shape the unique story only you can tell. You've lived through decades of change, learned lessons that no book can teach, and carried with you a truly remarkable resilience. Embracing aging means accepting both the losses and the gifts. It's about honoring the body that has carried you this far, nurturing your mind and spirit, and finding joy in the simple, everyday things. Whether it's a morning walk, a call with a dear friend, or a quiet moment of gratitude, these small acts become the threads that weave a life full of meaning and connection. Remember Martha's story, the way she found new purpose and friendship by stepping outside her comfort zone. Remember Walter, who rediscovered joy through small, practical changes. Their journeys remind us all that it's never too late to embrace life with openness, courage, and love. So, I encourage you to take one gentle step today toward embracing your age, whatever that looks like for you. Share your story with someone, try something new, or simply pause and appreciate the gift of this moment. Thank you for being here and allowing me to walk alongside you. If this video touched your heart or sparked a thought, please share your experience in the comments below. Let's create a community where we can all support, inspire, and uplift each other. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more stories and advice created just for you. Here's to your journey, full of grace, strength, and endless possibility.